Double Dragon 4 was announced. So, Double Dragon 4, I tweeted out that I was surprised about this just because there was already a Double Dragon 4. Like 1, 2, and 3 were on the NES. 1, 2, and 3 were all arcade games originally. And then Super Double Dragon came out on Super Nintendo, and that was always 4, I thought, right? Because Double Dragon 5 also came out. And Double Dragon 5 was a fighting game, a one-on-one fighting game. What system was that on? I know it was on Super Nintendo. It was also on the Jaguar. It was on the Jaguar, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. Double Dragon 5, The Shadow Falls, which was not a good game. I remember Super Double Dragon being pretty good. Not great. I haven't played in a while. But, let's see. Double Dragon 5, The Shadow Falls, was developed by Leland Interactive Media, and then published by Tradewest on the Super Nintendo and Genesis. So I thought, when I saw the announcement for Double Dragon 4, I just thought it was weird just because here we have a franchise that's ignoring games in its own series. But then when you watch the teaser, you understand why. So Double Dragon 4 is basically the fourth NES Double Dragon. It's totally being done in an 8-bit style with a graphic look that looks just like Double Dragon 2. I mean, like, it has almost the same sprites for Jimmy and Billy. I mean, it's a minute 45 teaser, so it's not a huge amount to go on. But you know, there's an Abobo who looks exactly like the Abobo from like the original. So it looks like a mix of different ones. You know, a mix of different styles from the 3 NES games. They show the spinning kick from Double Dragon 2. Same uppercut. A little bit of an additional sort of like combo, like kneeing combo, where like there's like a back kick and then a knee. And the back kick was in the original Double Dragon, at least in the arcade. There's a hairpin throw, where he's elbowing. Billy's elbowing instead of just kneeing, and then throwing, then kicking after the throw, and then a knee. So there's like a combo system here. Looks like the platforming elements are back, which are always the best part of Double Dragon. Sarcasm. A little platforming with a little wheel that's going around. You got to jump on. Looks like there's cutscenes added in here. So from the surface, I like the idea of this Double Dragon 4 being in the style of the NES games. I don't love the idea that it's just a total sort of cash in on this, sort of retro thing. But then you realize that, okay, it's the 30th anniversary of Double Dragon, at least on the NES. So then that's, actually it was in '87 as well in the arcade, or I thought it was '86. Oh, it was. Okay, no, it was July in '87 on the NES. Okay, if only someone wrote an NES guidebook where that had that information. So I mean, it makes sense to do that. So I'm not totally against that. Not at all. And it looks like they're adding in, again, there's only a minute 45 of teaser trailer. There's a 2-player dual mode, which was in the original game. There's some options we don't know about. There's a question mark for a mode they don't want to reveal, and it looks like you can change the language out, and there's options. So this will be, I think this will be cool. I think this will be cool to sort of go back to that spirit. And it's going to be on PlayStation 4 and Steam. But I wonder if they're going to be too faithful to how the limitations of the NES made some sort of, resulted in some stuff that maybe wasn't the best. So, for example, like on the NES versions of these games, the maximum number of enemies on the screen at one time was always 2, and they're always the same type. Of course, in the arcade, you usually had you can have 3 or 4 guys. You can have different types. Yes, there was slowdown in the arcade. We got into that big fight, me and Ian, about how good we both thought Double Dragon was. He hated it, and I thought it was good. Anyway, but at least on a shot in this trailer, there's one shot where there's 3 of the same enemies. There's 3 female characters that are attacking. But at least there's 3, not just 2. But I'm still looking for a shot in the trailer here that shows 2 different enemy types, and I don't see it here yet. I just see 3 of the same enemy type. So I hope they I hope they tweak that a bit. I'm not saying they have to have 10 people on the screen at one time, but let's make this a little more interesting versus waiting to beat up one enemy type at a time. You know. So this is going to come out January 30th. Steam, and PS4. I think I'm not sure this is going to lead to a bunch of other sort of franchises coming back in an NES style, because honestly, there's not that many viable third parties out there that would go back to it at this point. We had the probably the biggest famous one was when you had Mega Man 9 and 10 with Capcom. That was probably the biggest sort of one, but I don't picture a Konami doing that with Castlevania. I just don't see like them going back to a game format they hasn't been around for 30 years. I just don't see that for graphical style and gameplay style. I could see another Mega Man game coming back at some point, or maybe they'll do a new Mega Man X, Super Nintendo style. But Double Dragon, I mean, I was kind of surprised to see this, but they've had other games the past few years. Was it Double Dragon Neon? Was it the one that got pretty good reviews? Stuff like that. So we will see if this leads to a renaissance in NES style games. I mean, the NES Classic Edition's out there. Maybe other companies will see this and be like, oh, our library of games that we have from the past 30 years, maybe we can do it in that same sort of style and get the 35-year-olds to go and buy it again. I don't know.